Morning Rush.
Israel has launched a new wave of attacks against Iran as the Middle East war enters its fourth week. I'm John Kosick with the headlines we are covering at Scripps News. Iran is threatening to hit power plants in neighboring countries and mine the entire Persian Gulf. The threats target facilities including the UAE's nuclear power plant and desalination plants. Warning sirens sounded in Bahrain and Kuwait as air defenses activated across the region. President Trump is sending hundreds of federal immigration agents to U.S. airports to help with security. The move comes as a budget impasse creates hours-long waits for travelers and missed paychecks for screeners. Trump says he's acting because Democrats failed to agree on funding for Homeland Security. But lawmakers worry the immigration officers could escalate tensions at already crowded airports. And the U.S. Supreme Court is hearing arguments today on whether states can count late-arriving mail ballots. The case from Mississippi could affect voters in 14 states and D.C. that have grace periods for mail ballots. A ruling is expected in late June in time for the 2026 midterm elections. Election officials warn of confusion and disenfranchisement. The states must make quick changes.
The U.S. is sending more warships and Marines to the Middle East amid the war with Iran. 3 U.S. Navy warships, including the USS Boxer and 2,500 Marines from San Diego, have been deployed. Scripps News Group's Ryan Hill explains how these forces can make an impact abroad.
This is the flight deck of the USS Boxer. It, along with 2 other U.S. Navy warships, are deploying from San Diego to the Middle East.
Well, the ship provides, basically it's like a mini aircraft carrier.
Al Kempfer is a retired Marines intelligence officer.
It also has a well deck. So what it can do is it can launch these vehicles. They're amphibious. We have a variety of amphibious vehicles that are on it. They can be launched directly into the water.
The Boxer's website explains the ship is designed to bring Marines and their equipment to shore on deployment and support them on their mission.
This allows rapid ship-to-shore movement back and forth, which means that it's not just putting the Marines, putting the force ashore, but it's how fast we can build up combat power ashore to push in and to go in and take more territory faster and quicker.
2,500 Marines from the 11th Marine Expeditionary Unit, which Kempfer calls a MEU, from Camp Pendleton are also being deployed. Last week, 2,200 Marines from 29 Palms were deployed to the region.
Obviously, it doubles the amount of ground force capability, but a MEU is a complete air-ground package. It comes with a composite squadron. They can do a variety of things, attack, airlift, a lot of different things. Very robust combat service support element, very capable command element with a lot of things that they can do.
I asked Kempfer what message does this increase in assets in the Middle East send to the rest of the world amid this war with Iran?
Everybody's looking at what we're doing, and everybody's sitting there saying, well, yes, the U.S. is more engaged. It also increases the likelihood. Every country in the world is looking at this, particularly the Iranians are saying that the U.S. is likely going to take Iranian territory because we have the capability to do so.
Ryan Hill, Scripps News Group.
Those are some of the latest sights and sounds from the Norfolk-based USS Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group's participation in Operation Epic Fury. I'm outside Naval Station Norfolk talking with members of Virginia's congressional delegation about the operation.
Our capabilities continue to build. Iran's continue to degrade.
Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth Thursday providing an update on Operation Epic Fury. Among other things, he says ballistic missiles and drone attacks from Iran against U.S. forces are down 90% since the start of the fighting nearly 3 weeks ago. During a regularly scheduled talk with reporters Thursday, Virginia U.S. Senator Mark Warner had a lot to say about the fighting, including his reaction to questions members of Congress asked the Director of National Intelligence Wednesday.
She did not want to say the quiet part out loud, that there was no imminent threat and that this is a war of choice.
I also reached out to Virginia U.S. Representative Jen Kiggins.
We have another brief that will be scheduled for next week, I understand, so we are getting updates on that progression, but progress is being made, and this is a regime regime that needs to be taken away.
I asked both for an update on the Ford Carrier Strike Group. Earlier this month, the Vice Chief of Naval Operations told members of Congress the Ford's deployment, which was extended earlier this year, would likely last about 11 months. As News 3 has reported, the carrier itself has been plagued with problems with bathrooms and, most recently, a fire that has reportedly forced numerous sailors to sleep on tables and floors.
I received a secret brief this morning about the issues on the Ford concerning the recent fires. There will be an assessment that is to be done, so we are all waiting to hear what the results of that assessment are to learn what their schedule will be going forward.
It may be May before they come back. They'll do their duty, but I wonder how many of these sailors will choose not to re-enlist after this long deployment.
The 11-month projection puts the Ford's deployment on pace to be longer than the USS Midway's 332-day deployment during the Vietnam War, the current record for longest deployment of an aircraft carrier. Colter Anstadt, Scripps News Group.
We've got new information on Utah's water situation, and let me just tell you, it's not looking great.
Scripps News, part of the Scripps News Group.
I'm Ben Winslow in West Jordan. We've got new information on the water situation across Utah, and things are looking bleak. We've got hotter temperatures, not a lot of snow in the mountains, and everyone across the state is being asked to conserve more water this year.
The new normal is not normal, and that's what we're having to deal with.
Utah's Department of Natural Resources is looking at a record low water situation.
Our snow water equivalent, that's the moisture that's in the snow, is at 8.4 inches. The previous record low was 10.3 inches. And so we're talking about significantly lower than the previous record low.
Temperatures are 2 to 3 degrees above normal. Weather forecasts suggest snowmelt will outpace any new snow we do get. Spring runoff is forecast to be poor, which will impact reservoirs. Those reservoirs will be relied on heavily.
But regardless, we're anywhere in the state of Utah, we are in some form of drought right now.
That will have other impacts on the Great Salt Lake, which could shrink to a new record low this summer, and the Colorado River system, where Lake Powell is forecast to dramatically decline, impacting water and power supplies for millions of people.
We're looking at everything we can do to help support that. To help prop that up.
Across the state, local water districts are preparing. The Weber Basin Water Conservancy District is exploring delaying irrigation season and reducing use by 20%. Washington County's water district says it won't ask municipal customers to cut, but agriculture will see cuts. Salt Lake City could see some impacts.
So we're looking at a voluntary 5 to 10% reduction of everyone across the board, which shouldn't be too difficult. That's watering just a little bit less each time.
The Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District is asking people in Salt Lake County to wait to water until May 15th at the earliest.
This will help us get a head start on the water year, and really your grass doesn't need it before then.
Jordan Valley documented a spike in outdoor residential water use last year.
If we continue down the trend of last year, then yeah, we're going to run down our reservoirs quite a bit.
Water districts will offer you money to get rid of grass you don't use in exchange for water-wise plants. The state will also lease water from some to help prop up the Great Salt Lake.
We need to be smart about how we use our water.
So far, I'm told the governor is not planning to issue any kind of drought declaration, but that could certainly change as we head into spring and summer. Ben Winslow, Scripps News Group.
I spoke to the president of BKW Farms, who says these record-breaking high temperatures are not great for their crops development, but says it's completely out of their control.
Farming, it all depends on the weather. You only have one chance to plant it, and you only have one chance to harvest.
Brian Wong is a third-generation farmer and runs BKW Farms here in Marana. The long-standing farm is known for its grains and mushrooms. The mushrooms are inside, so they aren't impacted by the weather. But wheat is a different story. Wong says wheat is usually planted in late December or early January and then harvested in June or July.
So that wheat actually needs cooler weather, even freezing temperatures, for it to develop fully. So when we're hitting 100 degrees here in March, it really stunts the plant's growth and probably will impact the grain development on the plant.
He says it's hard to know right now what the exact impact will be.
If the plant has been severely, damaged, or it wasn't able to fully form the wheat, you'll actually start seeing empty wheat heads in the field. So we can kind of notice that about April, May time.
He says they plan for the future as best as they can and try to keep a 6 to 9 month supply of wheat in storage.
Madison Thomas, Scripps News Group.
There is more rain in the forecast for Hawaii as it deals with historic flooding. Officials there are urging thousands to evacuate as more rain threatens the islands. Oahu's famous North Shore is covered in muddy floodwaters with strong currents uprooting cars and homes. More than 200 people have been rescued, including at least 72 children and adults airlifted from a youth camp. Authorities are closely watching a 120-year-old dam that could fail.
If the water goes over the top of the dam, then it can erode the other side, and then you'd have a catastrophic break of the dam, and it would wipe out all the houses on the other side.
On Maui, parts of Lahaina are under evacuation warnings as retention basins remain near capacity. The town is still recovering from the deadly 2023 wildfire. Heavy rains fell on soil already saturated from last week's winter storm, with more expected in the days ahead.
I'm John Matteries. Thinking of a home improvement project this year? Well, before you start picking out fixtures, I'll show you how to choose a contractor who you can trust.
We're entering week 6 of this Department of Homeland Security shutdown. And while conversations continue between Republicans and Democrats here on Capitol Hill regarding a potential deal, President Trump is taking a controversial step, deploying ICE agents to airports to help mitigate long wait times. Long airport security lines in Baltimore this past weekend as the funding lapse at the Department of Homeland Security continues nationwide. TSA officers are reporting burnout and financial strain, and as a result, in many cities are calling out, creating airport delays. But the Trump administration on Monday making a significant announcement. The president announcing on Truth Social, quote, on Monday, ICE will be going to airports to help our wonderful TSA agents who have stayed on the job. The president's so-called border czar said this on Sunday.
My opinion is that we concentrate on the airports where the longest waits are. We prioritize those. The large airports where there's a long wait, like 3 hours. Lines are really slow because of the shutdown. This is about going to helping TSA do their mission.
ICE's presence at airports come as Democrats are seeking reforms to immigration enforcement nationwide in exchange for funding the Department of Homeland Security once again. It remains unclear whether ICE's deployments to airports will impact negotiations ongoing on Capitol Hill. House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries.
The last thing that the American people need are for untrained ICE agents to be deployed at airports all across the country.
Joe St. George, Scripps News Group, Washington.
Are you in the market for home improvement? Well, before you start picking out the cabinets, tile, or fixtures, the first step with any rehab project is to choose a contractor you can trust.
We have to stop the damage of the water inside.
Kristen Cahill had an urgent problem for a contractor, a leaky roof.
So this is where all the damage is, and it just runs down this wall.
She signed a contract with a roofer who had worked in her neighborhood.
I respected him and believed what he was going to give me in the new roof.
After giving a $2,000 deposit, she waited and waited while her roof continued to leak.
They said they were 4 to 6 weeks out.
And nobody's been here.
And no supplies have been delivered either.
When hiring a contractor, Christine Haley with the Better Business Bureau says be wary of companies going door to door.
I was down the street and I did a concrete job, and I have some extra material.
The contractor may be legit, but take time to confirm it. Don't hire on the spot. She says verify the company has necessary licenses and insurance.
You know, the days of a handshake or a verbal promise, that doesn't carry anymore.
And check out the contractor's business profile on bbb.org. And if there's a pattern of complaints, that's a red flag?
That is a red flag.
Attending a home remodeling show like this is a great way to meet contractors in person.
How are you guys doing?
Fantastic. And get some inspiration, in this case from a flooring company.
From polished concrete to epoxy floors, refinishing hardwood.
But don't feel pressured to make a decision right away. Make sure to review their previous work. Ask for references and ask for multiple quotes. Otherwise, like Kristen, you may be ghosted.
All those shingles should be gone by now? And they're still there?
Yes.
A painful lesson so you don't waste your money. John Mattery, Scripps News Group.
Our phones are absolutely listening to us. It's obvious. Anytime you pop open social media and you see ads for things you've researched or even discussed with others. But it's information we allow companies to collect and use through various terms and conditions agreements. Scripps News Group's Ed Drench has some helpful reminders to keep your digital privacy in check.
So the software on my iPhone recently updated, and I wanted to go through and see what's new. In the process, I stumbled upon this app privacy report, and immediately I was like, huh?
This is like a dashboard. It's telling you, hey, here are all the apps. Here's what this app is doing. It's looking at your contact history. It's looking at your photographs. The important thing here is you gave it access.
Then I went all in, talking to Arun Vishwanath. He's a cybersecurity expert, because I saw this section that says it shows when and how many times an app accessed your camera, your contacts, location, media library, microphone.
Should people be worried that they're listening to you? It's not that there's a bad guy out there or some hacker out there. listening to you. This is basically companies that are using that data at scale. They're monetizing it. There's a lot of behavioral profiling that happens with this kind of data. So it's not that they're listening to what you're saying without your permission. They're listening to what you're sharing. You just don't realize what you're sharing.
So if you're like me at this point, you're saying, burn it down. I'm done. I don't want anything tracking me. I don't want anything listening to me. Here's how you can find out what's happening right under your nose without you even knowing. Open your settings, scroll down to privacy and security. You'll see the apps using your location, but then scroll down to app privacy report. Click that and then click turn on app privacy report. It'll eventually show you which apps are collecting your information, and you just have to be vigilant.
Background data, information about where you are, your location information. That's something most apps don't need access to. And there are different ways to prevent it, right? Apple gives you, even Android gives you the opportunity to say, well, I'll only use my background when I use the app. Or is it all the time? You have to decide that.
For parents looking to get their kids a cell phone, Apple allows you to set up an iPhone based on your child's age. They can't download apps without your permission first. That way you know what's on their phone and who has access to them as well.
In Buffalo, I'm Ed Ranch reporting.
When you need help, it can be incredibly frustrating to call a big company or brand only to get an AI chatbot. It can feel like they ask endless questions without getting you the help that you need. You might have had this happen before. Maybe you called with a billing question or you wanted to cancel a service. Whatever it is, you can often leave feeling like you wasted your time. More companies are farming customer service out to AI for an obvious reason. It significantly cuts their costs. But what you might not know is that many AI systems have workarounds that can get you to a person. You just need to know how to trigger them. Most AI bots will escalate your call if you use certain words or phrases like representative, agent, file a complaint, and escalate this issue. If those fail, try saying this issue involves billing or legal rights. Many companies flag those as higher risk and will get you to a person. When you call, don't over-explain the issue. Keep it simple to a few words like account problem, need agent. The more you explain, the longer you could be stuck with a bot. Also call during business hours. That's an easy way to up your chances of being connected to an employee.
If you go to the grocery store, you may have noticed you're spending more. That's because prices are rising, and Hoosiers are feeling the impact.
Everything is up. Everything's going up.
It is $50, $60, sometimes $80 to $90 just for 5 or 6 things.
Food prices rose about 2.4% from January to February, led by a surge in vegetable prices, which rose about 50%, and fruit prices, that rose about 10%.
It tends to be pretty volatile, but it was definitely higher than anticipated.
The numbers come from a report released Wednesday by the U.S. Department of Labor. It also shows the latest producer price index, which measures inflation before it hits consumers.
The numbers that have come out have shown that prices are continuing to increase.
The jump in food prices happened before the attack on Iran, but Kyle Anderson, an economist at IU, says this comes as surging gas prices are directly tied to the conflict.
It's really going to impact pretty much all goods across the board.
What does this mean for Hoosiers when it comes to affordability? We're already seeing higher prices at the pump and in the grocery store.
Rising prices aren't always that bad as long as sort of wages and jobs are keeping up. What is really troubling to me is seeing a little bit weaker job growth. Wages aren't exactly rising.
For retirees like Miss Annie, the crunch is already here.
Everything has gone up so much. And then when you fix income, stay the same. Everything is up.
With watching the prices go up, it's definitely hurting, the bank at home, keeping you from going out doing things.
And Anderson says it could be a while before prices go back down.
We had a period where inflation was mostly under control, but now we're seeing some strains in the system. Prices aren't going down, they're probably heading up.
Nadja Woods, Scripps News Group.
Well, it seems like everything is getting more expensive. Some fast food restaurants are lowering prices. Scripps News Group's Annabelle Kinney has a look at new value menus.
going up in price by like insane amounts.
Some of the country's biggest chain and fast food restaurants say they're putting value back on their menus and offering discounts to stay competitive. McDonald's, Applebee's, Taco Bell, Panera, Burger King, and others are slashing prices and launching lower prices on their value meals, and in some cases, creating more affordable items. High costs were enough for some in Indy to choose different restaurants years ago.
That's why I don't eat a lot of fast food anyways. I can go across the street and get the same thing for the price, but it's good that they dropped it down.
Others hope the prices would also drop for healthier food options.
It's good and bad because it's not like healthy food, but some people will be able to afford to eat it.
Experts say years of inflation took a bite out of the food industry. Restaurants raised prices, customers stopped going. It's unclear how long the new price changes will stick around, but people say they're always happy to pay less.
It's really cool. I might go get a McDonald's hamburger today.
I mean, everything's better with a price drop.
In Indianapolis, Annabelle Kinney, Scripps News Group.
After the break, a live look at today's top stories. Rush.
2 people are dead and dozens injured after a plane and fire truck collided at LaGuardia Airport Sunday night. I'm Mike Brookbank, and this is Morning Rush. The pilot and co-pilot of the Air Canada regional flight from Montreal were killed. More than 40 people went to the hospital, but 9 were released. The fire truck was responding to another incident when the plane hit it at more than 100 miles per hour. LaGuardia remains closed until this afternoon. Israel has launched a new wave of attacks against Iran as the Middle East war enters its 4th week. Iran is threatening to hit power plants in neighboring countries and mine the entire Persian Gulf. The threats target facilities including the UAE's nuclear power plant and desalination plants. A warning siren sounded in Bahrain and Kuwait as air defenses activated across the region. The Supreme Court is hearing arguments today on whether states can count late arriving mail ballots. The case from Mississippi could affect voters in 14 states and D.C. that have grace periods for mail ballots. A ruling is expected by late June in time for the 2026 midterm elections. Election officials warn of confusion and disenfranchisement if states must make quick changes.
Someone could have the key to finding Nancy Guthrie in their pocket. That's what Today Show host Savannah Guthrie is saying as she renews her plea for help finding her missing mother. Nancy Guthrie was last seen January 31st. Authorities believe the 84-year-old was kidnapped from her home. The family is asking people in southern Arizona to search their memories, photos, and any other information from late January and early February. They say someone in the community may hold the key to solving the case, even if they don't realize the information is significant. The FBI has released surveillance video of a masked man outside Guthrie's front door the night she vanished. The family has offered a $1 million reward for information leading to her recovery.
The Attorney General is set to sit down for a deposition with a committee investigating the Department of Justice's handling of the investigations into Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell in less than a month. But after some fireworks on Capitol Hill this week, whether Republicans will force her to appear remains a very open question. The calendar is booked. March, April, May, and June, nearly every week, a connection to Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell will be questioned before the House Oversight Committee. Big names like Bill Gates will walk through the doors to testify about his interactions with the financier. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, pictured on multiple occasions with Epstein, has volunteered to speak with the committee but has not scheduled an interview yet.
I mean, that's a step, but isn't this, I mean, how many years late is this?
It's the smaller names like former assistants, lawyers, and confidants that might give the most chilling insight into the convicted sex offender's actions. Jennifer Freeman represents a group of survivors and suggests immunity for some of Epstein's closest confidants.
You need an inside person to tell you what was really going on. And I don't understand why there's been no effort. Well, I do understand, but I'm frustrated that there's been no effort to, talk to the lieutenants.
While many will testify about Epstein's life, at least one witness is expected to testify about his death. Tova Noel will sit before the committee on March 26th. She is one of the corrections officers on duty the morning Epstein was found dead in his cell. She was charged in 2019 with falsifying records that made it appear as though she completed her required rounds, when in fact she didn't conduct a prisoner count the night Epstein died. Still, the DOJ's Office of Inspector General report noted surveillance video of Noel at 10:40 p.m. the night Epstein died, carrying linen up to the tier of cells where Epstein was housed. The charges were ultimately dismissed after she made a deal with prosecutors, but she's believed to be the last person to see Epstein alive. Do survivors have an interest in that part of the investigation?
I think they do. I think they have less. I mean, it's part of the piece, right? Because if it was found that this was not a suicide, then you have to ask, well, then what was it and who was behind it? And how does that relate to the underlying story and what happened to them?
And Norway's crown princess sitting for an interview nearly 2 months after details emerged that she exchanged hundreds of emails with Jeffrey Epstein between 2011 and 2014 and even stayed at his Palm Beach mansion. He was not there, but she said there was a situation while she stayed at the house without going into further detail. Now, the prince, who also appeared in the interview, said whatever occurred made his wife feel unsafe. The princess maintained contact with Epstein afterwards, but she told Norway's national broadcaster she wished she'd never met him and called herself, quote, too trusting of Epstein. Alex Miller, Scripps News Group, New York.
The late civil rights icon Cesar Chavez, his legacy's now coming under fire after allegations of sexual assault. And that affects areas here in Metro Detroit, including Pontiac, where Cesar Chavez Avenue stretches for miles. A name that once carried pride now carries mixed emotions.
It's really hard to deal with, but at the same time, something has to be done about it because we can't just ignore.
Pontiac City Councilman Mikhail Goodman says when he saw the sexual assault allegations come down regarding civil rights icon Cesar Chavez, who created the United Farm Workers Union in the 60s, he immediately thought of the sprawling thoroughfare that goes through his own city, Cesar E. Chavez Avenue, that was once called Oakland Avenue.
There were already members of the community who were like, yep, time to fix this, time to change this. And so...
Just like that.
Yeah.
He says in light of the allegations of the then underage girls who claimed they were sexually assaulted by Chavez in the 60s and 70s, and his right-hand woman and civil rights icon herself, Dolores Huerta, coming forward with claims of her own, Goodman says the avenue does not represent Pontiac anymore.
So you are looking at renaming Cesar Chavez Avenue?
Yes, and preferably changing it to Dolores Huerta Avenue.
It's a process that has to go through multiple approvals and steps, and he says that could take a year or even longer, but it's something he's already started looking into. And it's something the owner of Chavez Street Auto Care in Pontiac, Tony Juma, supports.
You know, if the allegations are true, I think it's a good idea to change the name. It bothers me to hear anybody has done anything like that.
Juma says he would even consider changing his own business name that he's had for around 15 years in light of these allegations. Over in Southwest Detroit at Cesar Chavez Academy, a charter school run by the private education management company, the Leona Group, a name that once carried pride, now carries a cloud of suspicion and is something that has to be addressed. In a statement, the CEO, Georgia Rogers, said in part, quote, "We are monitoring the impact of this deeply disturbing situation and will respond accordingly to protect the sanctity of what we do and who we serve." A complicated historical figure with a legacy now in question and a community having to adapt.
We got to bring the situation to justice.
I'm Rudolph Snyder reporting.
part of the Scripps News Group. News teams from across the country.
Reporting in Detroit.
In Phoenix. In Tampa.
Connecting together to cover what's important to you. From the nation.
Big developments out of Washington today.
To your neighborhood.
For impacts across the country, we go to our Scripps News Group reporter in Cincinnati.
Ohio is already seeing the effect.
Rely on the reporting power of the Scripps News Group here on Scripps News.
I'm Forrest Saunders standing in front of the state capitol, and everybody is talking about gas prices right now. They say they are too high, but there are only so many things the state can do, and one of them is a gas tax holiday, which Governor DeSantis said this week he's not really interested in. According to AAA, Florida gas prices are topping the national average, regular at about $3.95 a gallon, prompting some to push for another gas tax holiday from Tallahassee.
Oh, good morning. Thanks so much.
But Governor Ron DeSantis this week was skeptical. He said past holidays didn't deliver real savings as prices flux and companies offset the difference. He said it was more of a federal issue.
When we did the gas tax holiday, I don't think anybody really said that they were saving off of it. And I don't know that we even noticed a difference in the price.
His feelings, a 180 from DeSantis in 2021. Back then, he pitched a $1 billion gas tax cut, saying it was fighting high inflation under President Joe Biden.
You know, we're taking over 25 cents from Florida, and we'll basically zero that out for as long as we can and do over $1 billion. That's going to make a huge, huge deal.
Ultimately, DeSantis had to compromise with lawmakers, signing just $200 million worth of relief for the month of October, a gas tax holiday right ahead of his reelection.
Good job. All right.
At the time, many Democrats condemned the plan as a ploy to grab votes. But these days, Democrats say they would absolutely support a gas tax holiday.
We've done that in the past when there have been increases in the gas tax. Let's do it right now. Because of the war in Iran, gas prices are going crazy.
Florida Senate Minority Leader Lori Berman tried to pitch one this legislative session. Republicans didn't want it, and she says they'll now have to own that.
It's really a shame that we've had 60 days and we have almost nothing to show the state for affordability issues.
What comes next? Unclear. Gas prices don't show any immediate signs of easing, and at least for now, the state's top politician is leery of a holiday to help. Now, lawmakers still could do something on the gas tax. That's if they try and reduce it during an upcoming budget special session, which we expect to be sometime in April. We just don't have the details on that yet. In fact, they don't even have a budget yet. So we're going to have to wait and see how this all shakes out. Right now, gas tax holiday, probably not going to happen, but you never know in Florida politics. That's the latest out here at the state capitol. I'm Forrest Saunders reporting.
Millions of Americans are paying more for health insurance this year, and that's because subsidies that helped many people who were covered under the Affordable Care Act expired last year. Now, a new survey shows some of those recipients have dropped their health care altogether. Millions of Americans are forgoing health insurance after subsidies under the Affordable Care Act expired at the end of last year. 1 in 10 Americans who had insurance through the ACA last year dropped their coverage and are currently uninsured, according to a new survey from KFF.
And they're going to be having to navigate really difficult decisions if they're forced to face making some healthcare decisions without health insurance coverage over the course of the year.
80% who re-enrolled now report higher healthcare costs. Many expressed concern to the Scripps News Group last year about what their insurance would look like in 2026 without those subsidies.
If I did not have that, it would be over $600 a month, which is prohibitively expensive for me.
To see it over $1,000 was beyond shocking.
Going up to paying almost $1,200 a month it's going to be very, very difficult.
Without the subsidies, out-of-pocket premiums were projected to increase by 114% this year, an average of more than $1,000, according to a KFF analysis.
We know that, when people don't have coverage, when they're really, really, really sick or face an emergency, they still need to seek care. So it's going to be an increased burden on our local hospitals and our local providers.
The end of the ACA's subsidies was at the center of a political battle last fall that led to the longest government shutdown ever and will likely be a key issue going forward. A Scripps News Talker research poll found nearly 70% of Americans are concerned about affording their own health insurance. Growing healthcare costs quickly ripple to impact other parts of Americans' finances. According to a recently published Gallup survey, about a third of Americans cut back on other spending to cover healthcare costs. Maura Barrett, Scripps News Group, Denver.
Western and central Nebraska battling the biggest wildfires that the state has ever seen, and that means that the cattle industry is taking a big hit. I'm in Wahoo talking to local experts of sorts to find out what to expect with beef prices. Inside Wahoo Meat Locker, manager Connor Emsweiler tells me the Wahoo wiener, pork and beef, is his most popular seller.
Anyone has ever lived here or around here and they moved away, if they're ever back in town, they're going to hit up Wahoo Locker for Wahoo wieners and what else, whatever else they like.
He tries to keep prices for that and other products low. That means shopping wholesale beef. He's not exactly sure what the short-term impact of those fires will be, but he does know that the loss of so many valuable acres of ranch land won't help.
All it's going to do if we lose cattle is their prices are just going to go up.
I spoke with customers in the store who are feeling the squeeze of higher prices. Connor's solution is getting creative.
Ground beef is always very reasonable, and when ground beef, started to get higher, we came out with we call it Wahoo Burger. We have it at $2.99 a pound. It's half beef and half pork. You could use it for anything that you do with just regular ground beef.
As if the loss of grazing land wasn't bad enough, ranchers are saying their hay and other feed is lost or damaged. Connor expects more customers to skip beef altogether.
I'd say there are more people eating, chicken or pork right now, just because, if you can't afford that expensive steak, more than you'd like, then you're just not going to buy it.
And I'm told the fix isn't going to be quick.
Do you see, a light at the end of the tunnel?
I think it's just going to take, years of farmers continually to, raise beef and more cow-calf pairs that, build up the herd.
In Wahoo, I'm your Northeast Nebraska neighborhood reporter, Max Williams.
How cool is this? You are looking at what is believed to be a confirmed piece of that meteor that zoomed over our sky here in Northeast Ohio on St. Paddy's Day. I'll have the details. got a piece of outer space at your house? We'd love to come visit.
Come on over.
Yes.
Gabe Leidy works in supply chain, but his passion is photography.
Landscape photography.
He took these shots around Northeast Ohio.
Cityscapes, wildlife.
But something out of this world caught his eye on Wednesday.
Is it heavy?
It's got some weight to it, yeah. I mean, it's dense, yeah. It feels like for all the world like a piece of glass.
Gabe found what appears to be a meteorite from that 7-ton asteroid that zoomed across Northeast Ohio at 40,000 miles per hour Tuesday morning before fragmenting over Medina County.
When I walked upon this thing, it looked for everything in the world like exactly what I thought I was looking for. Because I'm really excited about it.
Gabe says he was in Sharon Center, which is within NASA's strewn field map.
So I did take a video of it, actually. I wasn't wearing gloves. But it just, I was like, man, if that's not, then what is it, you know?
I am a professor of planetary geology at Case Western Reserve University.
Okay, this is your jam. This is like your time to shine.
Celebrity status isn't my jam, but the rocks are.
Professor Harvey has been busy, but agreed to look at some photos submitted to News 5 for possible meteorites, including Gabe's.
That is a pretty little button. I would put my poker chips on that being a meteorite. I mean, it's hard to tell what kind it is, but, you know, it's clearly got this little melted rim all around it. Like it's a little object that's been had nice glassy surface flowing away. So, yeah, that's very promising looking.
It's similar feedback Gabe says he's gotten from other experts he's shown it to.
I've heard rumors that this is from the people that have seen them and looking at these rocks. There's a chance it's called an HED. It stands for, well, scientists only, people that would love it. Howardites, eucrites, diogenites, but those are strongly associated with coming from the asteroid 4 Vesta, where the Dawn mission was recently. They look just like the right stuff.
We showed Professor Harvey some other photos of local finds, like this one.
Yeah, there's one that says it's credited to Roberto Vargas that is like a flake from one of these rocks, and it definitely looks like a meteoritic flake.
News 5 viewer Crystal Eklum shared these photos of rocks her son Jace spotted at Medina Trails. A bit less clear, said Professor Harvey, but tough to say for sure.
I don't see that black glass outer crust. That doesn't mean it's not a meteorite. It just, and this is one of those cases where context is everything, right?
Speaking of context, Andy in Medina said he found these in his barn that had small holes in the roof and side.
And a reason to look more closely at those specimens.
As for Gabe,
it does look otherworldly.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, that's why, the one thing that threw me immediately was that it wasn't magnetic, because I did have a magnet that I had brought with me.
This lucky find will certainly stick with him.
Did the hair help you become one in the search at all?
I have no idea. I was actually wearing a hat. It was very cold. It was quite cold that day, actually.
He's grateful for the memento of a spectacular day in Northeast Ohio. And like many of us, also grateful for an opportunity to connect with the cosmos.
Any other questions?
No, not at the moment. Appreciate the feedback, for sure.
Good, because if you ask too many questions, I got to charge tuition. I'm sorry.
I'm still paying student loans, man.
Katie Houston, Scripps News Group.
New documents show how widespread and confusing the Trump administration's order to review and remove any history that puts America in a negative spotlight has been. We're talking about information on everything from slavery to climate change. This all started last spring with the president's executive order directing staff to ensure public lands and memorials do not have any content that, quote, inappropriately disparages Americans. Then an Interior Department memo led to national park sites putting up controversial QR codes, encouraging visitors to report negative views about the U.S. Now leaked documents show just how widespread these flagged items are. Not everything flagged is being removed, but that's where the work and the confusion lies.
The time that they had to spend to go through and review all of the interpretive programs, the exhibits, the brochures, the videos, has put a lot of effort and time on the part of park rangers when they really should have been doing other things.
Bill Wade with the Association of National Park Rangers worries about which aspects of history or science might be at risk. He too was a park ranger and says being forced to tell different versions of stories or withhold facts is frustrating. He also worries about the sites that become national parks because of the history that happened there.
And so what I'm concerned about is if we don't win this suit and the restoration or the removal and the censorship is halted and the restoration doesn't continue, I'm somewhat concerned that they might just go after those areas themselves and deauthorize them.
A federal lawsuit has been filed to stop the entire process. The Department of Interior responded to those leaked documents, saying in part, these are not drafts and not a representation of final action, and that the documents were edited before being inappropriately and illegally released. The department even went on to say that the employees who leaked this to, quote, hurt the Trump administration will be held accountable. If you're interested in how this impacts national parks near you, there is a website and a map showing all the sites that have been flagged for possible removal. Go to the website you see on your screen, missingparkhistory.org.